Chapter 71. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Rayleigh, what do you think of Brother Finn's dream? A conspirator of the times with a bounty of 1.5 billion is really a bit curious. In the Bamboo Pole Tavern in the Sabaody archipelago, the proprietress Ya Chi asked Rayleigh with some curiosity, but Rayleigh did not answer immediately. Obviously, he was not sure, but he still wanted to describe it as objectively as possible, so he fell into thought for a while. He should be a very ambitious person, arrogant in his heart, and pay attention to doing his own thing, but he is different from the pirates. He has high demands on himself and has his own unique code of conduct. Rayleigh recalled carefully that he and Finn had been on the island for nearly half a month, and then answered seriously. During the time on the island, Rayleigh was quite impressed by Finn. Although Finn was young, he was impressed by his ambition and unconventional temperament. Although his understanding of Finn was limited, he could feel Finn's ambition. Of course, during the half-month that Finn and Rayleigh spent together on that island, Finn was mainly pestering Rayleigh, wanting to learn the fighting skills of Conqueror's Hide from him. Although Rayleigh also taught him, Finn was obviously not as good as Luffy in learning Conqueror's Hide. He spent almost half a month working day and night to truly learn the level of understanding after being hit by a few sticks. There was no way his IQ was like this, otherwise he would not have been so miserable in his previous life. Therefore, Finn has always liked to work hard instead of understanding, because he has long known how much he weighed. Finn has never been discouraged because of his poor understanding. On the contrary, every day, he tirelessly asked Rayleigh for advice, trying to understand Conqueror's Hide by working hard. Rayleigh was also a little reluctant at first. After all, they did not have a special relationship, and this matter was completely not good for him, but he could not stand Finn's nonsense. Finn is not an ordinary person now, he is a super strong man with a name. Since he has already spoken, it is obvious that he must learn this thing, so Rayleigh is in a dilemma and can only teach him. There is no other way, unless Rayleigh wants to directly make enemies with Finn. He doesn't care even if he fights, but it is obvious that Rayleigh doesn't want to offend such a strong man because of this matter, and he has a good impression of Finn. To put it another way, the King's Hide entanglement is not a unique skill, but there are fewer people who master it on the sea. Not that no one has mastered it. If you don't teach it, wouldn't it be a clear unfriendly attitude? Therefore, this is not even a skill, and Rayleigh has no need to stick to it. Of course, Rayleigh mainly doesn't want to conflict with Finn because of this little thing. Finn's record really makes him a little confused, and he attaches great importance to it and is quite wary, so there is no other way. Rayleigh can only patiently teach Finn on that island the practice of King's Hide entanglement. And it was impossible to teach him in a short time, because this thing is a skill that highly combines the mind and the body, which is very difficult. So, just like this, on that small island, the two of them spent half a month together, and gradually, their relationship became more familiar. Finn treated Rayleigh with sincerity and showed considerable respect for him. On the one hand, this respect came from the influence of Rayleigh's upright image in the original work, and on the other hand, it was because Finn had personally experienced Rayleigh's Conqueror's Haki and felt that pure belief. Rayleigh was indeed very concerned about Finn and was willing to teach him about the use of Conqueror's Haki. This further deepened Finn's respect for Rayleigh. In dealing with this legendary figure, Finn showed both admiration and deep respect. Rayleigh also praised Finn very much. During this period, the friendship between the two gradually deepened, and even became a close friend regardless of age. It is also true that hard work pays off. Finn still mastered the entanglement of the Conqueror's Haki. Coincidentally, the talents of the Kung Fu Manatee brothers were also very strong, and they actually learned the use of armament Haki at the same time. They simply practiced armament Haki by imitating the training of the fighters of Nine Snake Island. This surprised Finn and he couldn't help but complain. Who is the protagonist? A group of younger brothers are all gifted, which makes the captain Finn feel a lot of pressure. Although he complained in his heart, he was still very happy. Finn guessed that the reason might be that animals are born with strong physical fitness. In the original work, there was a Kung Fu Manatee who sailed alone and created the Sea Beast Pirates, and also realized the armament Haki. Finn was still a little curious about whether the Kung Fu Manatee was among his 10 younger brothers, but because they looked exactly the same and difficult to distinguish, he didn't continue to worry about it. So, after achieving the goal of Nine Snake Island, Finn and his crew took Rayleigh's ship to the domineering archipelago. At this time, Finn was strolling around island number 21 of the domineering archipelago with his cute pet team. Finn was like the most beautiful scenery on the street, and the two teams of kung fu manatees behind him were even more eye-catching, with countless people looking up. It made countless children's eyes sparkle with stars, wishing they could adopt one home. Of course, this is impossible. These are Finn's crew. How can they be easily given to others? There are also many slave traders and pirates who know the goods. Seeing that these little guys are so popular, they understand a lot of crooked thoughts. However, it is obvious that there are still many people in this industry who pay attention to the news. They recognized Finn at a glance and immediately gave up their unrealistic plans. It's really that Finn is too famous now, and the bounty order has been a sensation recently, just like a traffic star, coupled with his unique dark red flame cloud and giant-like body. He is so eye-catching and recognizable. That's Julent D, Finn. It's really him. He's a pirate with a bounty of 1.5 billion, that many people are discussing him in secret. It's really rare to see such a person. As for why Finn came here, it was not a wandering without a purpose, but a clear goal. He learned from Rayleigh that there are slave auctions on islands 1 to 29 in the domineering archipelago. This is a classic plot in the novel. There is a great possibility of gaining high-quality younger brothers. How can Finn not be interested? After all, he is going to occupy the territory and conquer the world in the New World next. How can he do without a strong crew? He has been thinking about talents recently, so, Finn took his cute pets and started looking for potential members in the domineering archipelago with great expectations. Chapter 72. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It seems that this is the auction house of this island. Finn stood in front of a tall building, staring at the sign of the building for a long time. Captain, why don't you go in? Everyone is watching. Wix asked curiously. Finn looked at the sign, as if thinking about something, and didn't answer it immediately, but Finn didn't think about anything. He just wanted others to invite him in. Of course, he wouldn't tell others. He is now a traffic star. If he just walked in by himself and sat in the hall, there were so many people and he would be treated like a monkey. Besides, should he just go in and take a group of younger brothers to grab a seat? How degrading and cheap. He is now a powerful man with status, and he has a group of younger brothers. How can he get a box? So, Finn's days was waiting for the reception of the auction house. Who would have thought that after a long time, there was no one to respond? He couldn't help but give a bad review in his heart. This experience is a bit bad. Therefore, Finn was stuck here for a while, but obviously, his signboard was still quite useful. After a while, the person in charge came to entertain him personally. It turned out to be Lord Finn. I have heard of your name for a long time. Sorry to have kept you waiting. It is an honor to serve you. The person in charge of the auction house, a fat middle-aged man, said to Finn politely. Finn looked at him, nodded, and said lightly, "Take me in to have a look." Okay, please. The middle-aged steward said hurriedly, and immediately led Finn into the auction house. Finn directly greeted his younger brothers, followed the middle-aged steward, and walked through the busy hall and entered the interior. The middle-aged steward also discovered this group of kung fu sea cows at this time. For a moment, he was a little confused and didn't know how to entertain this group of special crew members. Finn and his group were taken to the box on the second floor, where they could clearly see the information of the auction items, and the auction had just started. Finn glanced at the crowd in the hall, which was diverse, including pirates, merchants, nobles from various countries, and even celestial dragons. These celestial dragons were not in the box, but sat directly in the front row of the auction hall. Finn couldn't understand why these celestial dragons like to show off so much. Is it really because they lack something in their hearts that they like to show off? They like to show off their identities so much. Are they afraid that people don't know? Finn didn't know what this hobby was. Of course, he didn't know the specific reason, but he couldn't help but complain in his heart. Aren't they afraid of being shot in the back? This was obviously the thinking of Finn's previous life, and he couldn't get used to it for a while. This world has the ability to see and hear, and the reaction speed of a strong physical practitioner is faster than a gun. the group around the celestial dragons was obviously guards, so they were so fearless. Are you really not afraid of death? Definitely not, you must have something to rely on. The auction was in full swing at this time. One by one, the collections were sold at high prices, and people were scrambling to raise the price. There were exquisite guns, sharp swords, and all kinds of strange things from all over the world. It really made Finn a little dumbfounded. After all, he had never seen such a business scene from his previous life to this life, but the current things were not enough to make him excited. Suddenly, the whole scene was once again extremely hot, and many screams filled the entire auction house. Finn was a little curious about what strange things caused such a sensation this time. "Captain, come and see, this guy looks a lot like you." Wicks shouted to Finn excitedly. A group of kung fu manatees were surrounding the railings on the second floor at this time, with their heads stretched out long, watching the situation in the field. The slaves being auctioned on the field were indeed somewhat similar to Finn's figure, but of course their strength was far inferior. However, Finn's strength was deeply rooted in the hearts of these cute pets. Seeing a body shape similar to that of their captain, they thought he was also a strong man, so they shouted curiously, wanting Finn to see it. Finn also saw that the one being auctioned was the leader of a pirate group. He was indeed very strong, with golden hair, and relatively young and handsome. Finn also knew why it was so popular at this time. It turned out to be the excitement of hormones. No wonder the people who shouted for auction were all ladies. Finn looked at this guy and was indeed a little sad. It seemed that he was tortured. But this guy's strength did not meet Finn's requirements, so he had no other ideas. Finn knew that there were some things he could not control. He was not so strong that he could control the world's affairs, so he would not be annoyed if he did not see it, and he did not look at it anymore, especially now the field is full of noble ladies fighting for it. Who knows if this guy will be the winner in life in the end? It's too early to say anything now. By then, that guy will be living a life of debauchery and sentimentality. Isn't he a clown? Obviously, this guy doesn't look like he comes from a poor family. Who knows if there will be family negotiations in the future? Finn didn't take it to heart. Finn could only wish this guy good luck. However, things won't go so smoothly. You like to watch the excitement, right? They don't know yet that the excitement is coming. Because these cute pets are too focused, they are crowded together and look down around the railing. They didn't notice that they have attracted a lot of attention. What kind of animal is that? The celestial dragon Charlo Saint asked curiously to the guard leader CP0 member Spandine. That is a unique species of Alabasta, the kung fu manatee. Spandine answered respectfully to the celestial dragon. Kung fu, manatee. Can it know kung fu? Yes, yes. This animal has strong strength, and its greatest hobby is to compete with others in kung fu. Ah! Such an interesting animal. No, I must have it. Go and catch it for me. Charlo Saint said excitedly. Spandine looked at the group of kung fu manatees who were watching with great interest, and shook his head secretly in his heart. He knew that this was not an easy animal to tame, and it was quite aggressive. If the celestial dragons were hurt, he would have to bear the blame, but it was obvious that the curiosity of the celestial dragons had been aroused, which really made him a little embarrassed. Charlo Saint, kung fu manatees are not easy to tame, and they are very powerful. If they hurt you, it would be bad. Spandine persuaded carefully. Ha! You dare to disobey my orders? You bold slave! Charlo Saint was furious. If Finn saw this, he would definitely complain. This celestial dragon is obviously a little neurotic. I don't know why he didn't just lock him up but let him out. Isn't this just disgusting? Chapter 73. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Spandine had no other options. He knew the celestial dragons very well and knew that once they were interested in something, they would have to get it. He could only bite the bullet and prepare to capture the Kung Fu Sea Cow with his men. As for who the owner of the Kung Fu Sea Cow would be, that was not within his consideration. He did not think that there was anyone in the Sabaody archipelago that the celestial dragons could not afford to offend. so he ordered a few men to protect the celestial dragons on the spot, and took the rest of the people to start the action. All of them shaved, and in an instant, they had already reached the second floor. The fierce momentum clearly showed that they were planning to catch one by one. It is undeniable that these people are all strong men in the CP organization, so they can become the guards of the celestial dragons, so they did not take the Kung Fu Sea Cows Kung Fu seriously at all, but how could they know that this group of Kung Fu Sea Cows were not raised in the wild, but were taught by someone, and they all knew how to use the armament hockey. Even among the species in the entire world, each one of them was considered powerful. They grew up naturally in Alabasta, and each of them has the combat power level of a major lieutenant in the Navy. Now they have mastered the armed color domineering. Finn feels that they are almost catching up with the level of a captain in the Navy. Facing the attack of Spandine and his gang, the Kung Fu manatees reacted instantly, using the armed color to wrap their arms and directly confronted this group of people. This caught the group of people off guard. They had never thought of this situation. The Kung Fu manatees with armed color made them feel a little messy and shocked. They just felt that it was too incredible. At this time, the group of Kung Fu manatees all looked eager to try. There was no way. Who told them that they liked to find someone to fight the most? This group of people was like poking a hornet's nest. They began to choose their opponents, swing their postures, and couldn't wait to fight. This time it was the turn of these people to be confused. They were thinking about counterattack, right? So brave and so warlike. But this place would not give them time to make up their minds, because Finn had already reacted at this time. There is no way. What just happened was just a moment. When Finn saw someone dared to touch his crew, oh no, cute pet, how could he tolerate this? He couldn't help but complain in his heart, aren't you looking for death by lighting a lantern in the toilet? The domineering color instantly emanated from his body, and the powerful pressure immediately enveloped Spandine and his men. For a moment, it was like being in an ice cellar. No, this is the domineering color. Spanda reacted at this moment and understood instantly that this time he might have hit a wall. After all, the existence of being able to master the domineering color domineering is really rare in this great route. There are more than 10 billion people in the world, and there are less than 20 people with the domineering color. In such a large naval camp, only Zhangguo has the domineering color on the surface. This rarity is simply a rare treasure. No wonder the world calls it the qualification of the king, so how could this not shock Spandine? But things won't end so easily. Finn's domineering color is still sweeping across. Spandine and his men are staring at him like huge beasts, with fear coming from the bottom of their hearts. Everyone stayed where they were, fighting against this pressure with all their strength, sweating profusely, and their legs began to tremble. Only Spandine was a little calmer because of his strong strength, but he was far from being unaffected. This is the real fear from the soul, which is physically impossible to resist. Julent D. Finn. Spandine obviously recognized the visitor and shouted in fear. His shouting also attracted the attention of his men. They had heard of this name one by one, and their hearts sank to the bottom of the valley in an instant. With the appearance of Finn, the situation in the auction house began to gradually become chaotic. That's Julent D. Finn, the pirate with a bounty of 1.5 billion, it turns out to be him. For a while, people were talking about it, and many people began to leave directly, realizing that there might be a fight here, and they didn't want to be affected and suffer this unexpected disaster, and Finn just stood there, his eyes coldly scanning the surroundings. Captain, these people want to attack us, what do you think we should do? Should we teach them a lesson? Wix asked in a low voice, and the powerful pressure emanating from Finn made it full of confidence. Finn glanced at Spandine and his men, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Since they attacked my cute pet, don't blame me for being rude. After that, the domineering color was released again, and a stronger sense of oppression surged like a tide. Then he walked toward Spandine step by step, and the atmosphere of the entire auction house seemed to solidify for a while. Spandine's face was pale, and he felt an unprecedented pressure. Although he has some strength, he is no match for Finn, but before Finn decided to do anything, trouble broke out again. Spandine, catch this big guy for me, I want him to be my slave and help me manage my zoo. Caught off guard, Spandine was almost scared to death. His celestial dragon master's actions were simply trying to kill him, and he kept cursing in his heart. He could only pretend to be calm and plan how to end it. But at this time, it was obvious that someone was starting to break down. It was our Finn. These stupid guys actually wanted to make him a slave again. It really made him a little angry. He looked at the celestial dragon Charles Saint coldly. Thinking about how to deal with this fool with a problem in his brain. Although this fool has a problem in his brain, things are not so simple. The insults he suffered will not be written off just because he is a fool. You idiot, lie down. Finn really couldn't think of how to deal with it, and didn't want to get entangled with this fool, so he instantly activated his domineering color and swept towards the celestial dragon. In an instant, the celestial dragon Charles Saint lay directly on the ground, foaming at the mouth, his face full of fear. Seeing the celestial dragon master fall to the ground, Spandine and his men were almost scared to death at this time, realizing that something big was going to happen. Under the pressure of life and death, their fear of Finn's domineering color was reduced a lot, and they began to prepare to attack Finn. They knew that Finn was very powerful, but under the current circumstances, they were no longer allowed to hesitate. They had to launch an attack and show enough attitude, otherwise, if the master fell to the ground and they were indifferent, they would be executed, and the consequences were unimaginable. If they took action, they could still have a glimmer of hope, which was completely a life-saving move, so they all had no scruples and attacked Finn with all their strength. Chapter 74. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Spandine and his gang were no match for Finn. Finn had no intention of holding back against this group of people, who were all helping the tyrants. Of course, he had no intention of fighting alone, and he also wanted to train his cute pet team, so, with a wave of his hand, he commanded everyone to attack. Finn naturally faced Spandine, with his armed color and domineering color entangled. Maximum equivalent, cannon punch. In an instant, Spandine was directly knocked away, like a cannonball, flying out at a high speed. In just a few breaths, he didn't know where he flew to. At this time, Spandine was of course not just knocked away. He was also knocked unconscious by the domineering color entangled attack in an instant. Only he knew the specific injury, but it was definitely not good. At this time, the other CP members were all like bereaved parents, and their hearts sank to the bottom of the valley. Fortunately, Finn did not continue to choose to attack others. Just helping his little brother to stand on the platform and scavenge. Maybe the pressure brought by Finn was too great. This group of people seemed to have completely lost their fighting spirit. Soon, they were knocked to the ground by Kung Fu Si Kao. The speed of falling to the ground was so fast that Finn couldn't help but wonder if it was a fake match. As all the people fell to the ground, the Kung Fu Si Kao team won a great victory and did not continue to attack the bottom personnel. They still had some martial ethics. Each one seemed extremely excited and jumped happily towards Finn. Obviously, the victory in the first battle boosted morale. However, at this time, a yellow light suddenly flashed in the sky, and a figure appeared. It was the Admiral Kizaru of the Navy. Because of Finn's appearance, Zhongguo was really worried. He knew what kind of scumbags there were in the Sabaody archipelago. In order to prevent accidents, he specially asked Kizaru to come to maintain order. Kizaru also worked non-stop, but unexpectedly, he was still a step late. He had just arrived and took over another mess. He looked around, thinking with his feet, and knew that it must be the celestial dragon Charles Saint who asked for it. For a moment, his face fell a little. He was really tired, but he still greeted Finn first. After all, they were old acquaintances, although each time the memories were not so good. Yo, brother Finn, see you again. Kizaru still greeted in the standard way, but his lips were barely raised. Obviously he was not in a good mood at the moment. He was not interested in such thankless work at all, just doing business, thinking about finishing it quickly, and going back to fish. He was just a worker who got a salary. If he really wanted him to fight Finn for a salary, wouldn't that be a huge loss? How could he do such a stupid thing? What about the celestial dragons? Do you think he really cares? What does it have to do with him? He doesn't have the loyal slave mentality. He is not a subordinate of the celestial dragons who can come and go at will. However, thinking of the special nature of the aptitude archipelago, he remained patient. After all, it was their plan for the celestial dragons to show off. I didn't expect that this group of people would be so blind. What are the CP personnel for? They actually provoked Finn. Isn't this just making him uncomfortable? Finn saw that the person coming was his old acquaintance Kizaru. He had communicated with him about Ace before, and even earlier about the celestial dragons. He was familiar with him, so he stopped. "General, it's been a long time since we last met. I miss you so much." Finn also smiled and greeted Kizaru. Kizaru curled his lips unnaturally, complaining in his heart that nothing good would happen if he met you, so it's better not to miss you. "Every time I see you, it's like I've been unlucky for 8 lifetimes, and there's never a good ending." But although he thought so in his heart, he still had to do the surface work. "Brother Finn, I don't know what you are doing in the aptitude archipelago. Our navy is not at all relieved when you are here." "Ha ha ha, I am just going to the new world to see the world, but unfortunately I don't have a boat and don't know how to get there. Otherwise, you can give me one." Finn joked. Yo, that's terrible. Is this asking for it or robbing it?" "Ha ha ha, borrowing, can it be called robbing for a cultured person?" Kizaru looked at Finn, and was speechless for a while at this shameless rhetoric, not knowing what to say. However, Kizaru was really hesitant, thinking in his heart, why not give him a boat, send the plague god away as soon as possible, and out of sight, out of mind. "He won't really give me a boat, will he?" Seeing Kizaru thinking seriously, Finn couldn't help thinking in his heart, he was not calm enough immediately. He just wanted to talk nonsense and joke with Kizaru. After all, Kizaru's salty fish personality was still very much to his taste, and he was also happy to be with this kind of personality joking. If Kizaru really gave him a boat, would he go or not? And how would he drive it? He didn't know how to do it. He was still thinking about recruiting soldiers in the aptitude archipelago, the only way to the new world. If he left directly, wouldn't he really have to rely on his cute pet squad in the new world? Isn't this still a commander without troops? How can this work? Finn thought to himself, so he planned to change the subject immediately. "General, the behavior of the celestial dragons in aptitude was intentional, right?" "Huh. The celestial dragons are swaggering in the aptitude archipelago, arrogant and lawless." Finn reminded. At this moment, Kizaru was a little stunned and didn't know how to answer. He thought to himself, this guy is too sensitive, and he saw it all. Finn, seeing this, knew that the celestial dragons in the aptitude archipelago were deliberately arranged. It was a trap for these young and energetic pirates who wanted to go to the new world. As long as the pirates are disrespectful to the celestial dragons, the navy can legitimately send troops and make large-scale arrests. This will not intensify the pirates' hatred of the navy. The pirates in the new world will have nothing to say. After all, there are reasons for the incident. Thus, the number of pirates going to the new world can be controlled, and the cost is almost nothing. But this time, the performance was messed up, and Finn happened to be provoked. It was really a matter of time and fate. "Brother Finn, you should go to the new world as soon as possible. As for the ship, we will not provide it. I believe you can solve it yourself." Kizaru thought about it and said to Finn, "Originally, according to his personality, it is not impossible to provide a ship and send this disaster away, but it is not something he can decide alone. Finn is the only one here. If he is given a ship, how can he drive it away? He has to arrange a team of people to serve him, right? This is obviously not something that can be done. If it is done, the navy will be embarrassed. Besides, compromising with pirates is a serious matter. Although he doesn't care, he still doesn't want to get into trouble, so, he can only talk nonsense and want Finn to leave aptitude archipelago as soon as possible and go to the new world." Finn is not calm. "He insulted me and wanted to get away with it so easily. How can this be a good thing? Besides, he wants to build his makeshift team here. How can he leave so quickly?" Finn pointed to the celestial dragon and his men lying on the ground, and said to Kizaru with a smile, "I wonder how you plan to deal with it, brother." Chapter 75. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not long after Kazara left, his men brought the Navy's unique devil fruit illustration. That's right, this is the result of Finn's negotiation, the devil fruit illustration, in exchange for the incident being written off. As for why the celestial dragons were injured and the Navy did nothing, isn't it because Finn is too strong? As for why Finn needs the devil fruit illustration, is it because he wants to eat devil fruits? Of course not, he just wants to find a suitable devil fruit for his cute pet squad. Although Kung Fu Manatee has a relatively strong strength compared to ordinary people, Finn thinks it is not enough and lacks a bit of meaning. After all, his current strength is only at the peak level, and such strength is difficult to help him in a short time. Therefore, Finn has been thinking about how to quickly help him improve his strength. After thinking about it, what else can he do on the sea? Isn't it just devil fruits? But Finn doesn't know much about devil fruits. What varieties are there and what are their abilities? Can he rely on the vague and half-understood memory in his mind? Devil fruit is a double-edged sword, it has flaws, especially when eaten by Kung Fu manatees. What if they become disabled? After all, Kung Fu manatees are not human beings, so how can they have such high intelligence? Isn't it a foolish dream to expect them to develop some strange abilities? Therefore, eating fruits must be carefully considered, and the fruit illustrations collected by the Navy are definitely complete, and it is most appropriate to use them as a reference. Finn also believes that Kung Fu manatees are indeed more suitable for eating devil fruits. They are amphibious and have no risk of falling into the water and dying. In Alabasta, they live in the desert, so it doesn't matter if they don't rely on their ability in the water and can't swim, they have more advantages than humans when eating devil fruits. Even if they fall into the sea, they can't use their strength. They can breathe in the water and there is no danger to their lives. It simply reduces the weaknesses of devil fruits to the minimum. Anyway, he himself would not eat the devil fruit, so even if he fell into the sea, he could just wait for him to rescue him. As long as he didn't drown, it would not be a problem at all. Where else could it be so easy to fall into the sea? There are so many devil fruit users on the sea. If it was so easy to fall into the sea, who would eat this thing? The pirate ship is very large, and it is far from easy for people to fall into the water, so Finn planned to study the devil fruit to see what kind of devil fruit is suitable for this group of Kung Fu manatees. But at this time, someone called him. It was the young man who was discussed by Finn and his group. He was a little similar to Finn. He was almost 4 meters tall and looked quite strong. Because of the conflict between Finn and the celestial dragons, many people left the scene early to avoid being affected, and did not have time to take away the auction items. Of course, they certainly did not pay. So now the ownership still belongs to the auction house. After that, Finn and his group fought with Spandine's group, and the crowd began to run away in panic, and the scene was also in chaos. These slaves were naturally unattended, which also gave them an opportunity. The young man was a little bolder and knew that the person in front of him was his only chance. "Master Finn, please wait a moment." The young man hurriedly shouted. Finn was also a little curious. Why did this man stop him? Did he want him to save him? They didn't know each other, how could he have such an idea? Did he think he was a saint? Finn's steps still stopped. He thought a little crookedly in his heart, this person wouldn't want to follow him. "Master Finn, I don't know if you still accept people here. You are my idol, I want to follow you." The young man seemed to have grabbed a life-saving straw and directly explained his intention. Finn was a little interested at this time. I remember that this person was still the captain of a pirate group. He was able to travel the Grand Line and come to the Sabaody archipelago. I think he must have some strength. This was the first time that a strong man took the initiative to become his younger brother and admired him. He suddenly felt secretly happy and his mood was high. This is the treatment that only a protagonist can get. The classic plot of auction house, slaves, life-saving, rebirth, and then sacrificing one's life to repay the favor. At this moment, he seemed to be in a YY novel scene. In his mind, there even emerged a spectacular scene of many brothers fighting for him in the new world. It's so cool, so imaginative. Finn couldn't help but shout in his heart, but Finn would not accept people casually. Doesn't this make him look hungry and indiscriminate? It's totally unworthy of his status. Oh, what are your strengths? Finn glanced at him and asked lightly. Lord Finn, I am Gree from the North Sea. I have been raised by my family since I was a child, train him as the strongest warrior. Gree said as he looked at Finn, seeing that Finn was listening carefully. He continued, Finn was not listening carefully at all, he was complaining, damn, they are all second-generation pirates playing house, right? Lord Finn, I formed my own pirate group before, and broke all the way here from the North Sea, but was defeated by the Celestial Dragon slave recovering team, and I was also captured. After hearing this, Finn looked at Gree with a little bit of praise, thinking that he still had something, and had almost made it through the Grand Line, so he should have some strength, which was not bad. However, he would not recruit people so casually. Strength needs to be assessed, and if it is too weak, he will definitely not want it. Gree, you fight it. Finn said to Gree, then he gestured to Wix and pointed at Gree. Wix understood what Finn meant instantly. As expected of the smartest one, Finn even doubted whether this was the one that had formed a group in the original book. Gree did not feel insulted. After all, he had seen the strength of the Kung Fu manatee. The people of the world government lying on the ground before were the masterpieces of these cute pets. He knew that this competition was extremely important to him and could change his fate, so he did not dare to be careless at all. In an instant, Gree and Wix collided with each other. Neither of them was a devil fruit ability user. Both of them were in the style of physical training and fist confrontation. Both of them had the ability of armed color domineering. Therefore, for a while, they were evenly matched, because the Kung Fu manatee was relatively small and flexible, it could move among the vines. It was vivid and lifelike. It really looked like Kung Fu. As for Gree, he was a bigger guy and his style was similar to Finn, that is, he used force to suppress others. So he simply faced the attack of Kung Fu manatee head-on. After several rounds of fighting, Wix knew that the big guy on the other side was indeed very powerful. So he could only dodge flexibly and attack from time to time. Just like that, after fighting for a few minutes, Finn really couldn't stand it anymore. It was really not very entertaining. Gree only needed to stand there and respond normally. From this, Finn knew that Gree's real strength was indeed stronger than his Kung Fu manatee. It seemed that he had shown mercy in the fight just now. His EQ was not low. He couldn't help but look at him with a higher opinion. As for how strong Gree was, Finn still had to test it himself, otherwise he would have no idea. Okay, stop. Just punch me with all your strength. After hearing this, Gree took a deep breath, and without further delay, he threw a punch that collided with Finn's fist, but it was obvious that he could not shake Finn. This punch was just like an itch, and Finn did not feel anything at all. After one punch, Finn already knew Gree's strength, which should be about the same level as a rear admiral. For Finn, it was really useless. But Finn still planned to accept him. After all, this was a milestone event and a classic plot. In this case, Finn did not believe that he was an undercover agent of another force or someone with ill intentions. If this was really a conspiracy, then he would admit it. There were really too many routines and he could not play it. Well, follow me, let's go. Finn greeted Kung Fu manatee and Gree. Yes, Lord Finn. At this time, Gree was obviously too excited. It was really a step to heaven and a step to hell. Call the captain. Yes, Captain. Chapter 76. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Who is your boss? I want to meet him. Finn, with his men, found the manager of the auction house and said directly. In fact, he wanted to confirm whether this was the property of Doflamingo. After all, in the original book, that guy was very talented, with businesses all over the world. He was the famous king of the underground world, Joker. He envied such a big business and was very rich. He recently decided to go to the New World to build a territory and recruit soldiers. How could he start without money? It was really hard for him. He didn't expect that after traveling through time, he would still have to worry about money. Now he doesn't have much money. All he has is earned from the East China Sea arena. He is just living off his savings. He won't be like a pirate, eating a free meal and grabbing what he wants. This will make him feel uncomfortable. Others do business without provoking him. If they really do that, wouldn't it be bullying the weak? It will definitely be a loss of moral integrity. If it is really Doflamingo's business, he will take advantage of it and rob Doflamingo's wealth to help his own poverty. He feels at ease taking the wealth that comes from illegal sources. After all, treasures are obtained by those who are destined to get them. Some people say that everyone is a pirate, so you can rob. Then who to rob? Pirates? Caravans? Who is carrying a lot of cash everywhere, and do pirates really save money? How can he get rid of a lot of supplies and where can he exchange money? Rob a shop. Others' cash flow is only a few dollars, and more is the World Bank flow, which is safe. You don't really think that people in this world are stupid. This is a world of high martial arts with a high degree of martial arts, and the difference in martial arts values is huge. If you put a lot of money at home, who doesn't worry about someone stronger than themselves coming to rob it? Besides, he really couldn't do this. It was completely against his original intention. After all, he was a person with higher education, so, after thinking about it, it was most reliable to ask Doflamingo for help directly. Anyway, it was all illegal and unscrupulous money, and he had no guilt at all. He also believed that as long as he didn't go too far, the other party would give this face. Master Finn, this is the property of Shichibukai Don Quixote Doflamingo. The steward saw that Finn didn't give face to the celestial dragons, so Finn told the truth about everything he asked. Knowing that it was indeed Doflamingo's property, Finn instantly became energetic and thought about how to extort money. He was so strong, but he had no money. This was unacceptable. This was definitely not right. It was the world that was wrong, and he wanted to correct this mistake. Help me connect with Doflamingo. Finn said to the steward. Hiya, Julent D. Finn, you are so famous. I heard from my subordinates that you contacted me. I wonder how I can help you. Hiya, 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 that a haughty laugh came out of the den mushi. With such high recognition, Finn confirmed that it was Doflamingo. Only that guy could have such a laugh that deserved a beating. Doflamingo, I heard that you have a lot of power in the underground world, and your business is all over the world. Such a big industry is really not simple, and it is really enviable. Finn said to the den mushi lightly. It seems that you have asked about me. I wonder what I want to do. Someone like you should not come to me to chat. Doflamingo was a little alert in an instant. There is no way. If you meet someone who brags about being rich right away, how can you not be alert? Isn't it obvious that he wants to get some benefits from him? He's not stupid, how could he not hear it? Ha ha ha, I just happened to come to your territory, and some accidents happened. I'd like to get to know you by the way. You shouldn't mind such abruptness, right? Hey. It's an honor. I wonder how I can serve you. Doflamingo on the side of den mushi didn't believe a word of it at this time. They didn't have any friendship. He didn't think that a strong man like Finn would take the initiative to make friends with him without some calculations. If you are nice to someone without any reason, you are either a traitor or a thief. He has been in the underground world for so long, but he knows it very well. Hearing Doflamingo's politeness, Finn knew that this guy has become more and more like a businessman. When doing things, he knows how to weigh the pros and cons. He knew that as long as he didn't push too far, it should be okay to ask for money. Doflamingo, I do have something I want to ask you for help. I want you to help me find a devil fruit. Oh, I don't know what devil fruit it is that makes a strong man like you covet it. But you have to be clear, if the devil fruit is eaten, it will be gone. The other end of the phone asked in confusion. Well, I know very well, I want to find a devil fruit that can make animals understand human language. I don't know if there is such a devil fruit, but I just want to give it a try. At this time, Doflamingo was really speechless. You are used to being a hands-off shopkeeper, right? You like to hand over all the difficult problems to others, right? I am not your subordinate, of course. He is a businessman, so he must maintain a friendly attitude on the surface. Besides, how to operate is up to him. So he didn't take it seriously and agreed to it in a friendly manner. However, there is no guarantee that there will be a result. Finn also knows that such things are completely a matter of luck, and he knows that this is the only way, otherwise it will be unreasonable, and he will have to ask for money next. However, I heard that you have a lot of devil fruits there. I wonder if there are any suitable for my kung fu sea cow. Hearing this, Doflamingo became interested again. After all, it would be good if Finn could maintain a trading relationship. This is a strong man who can completely defeat a Kainu. As an undercover in the Navy, how could he not know Finn's combat power? Even if the Navy tried to cover it up, he knew it. That's why he was so patient with Finn, otherwise, anyone could talk to him directly. He is the king of a country, a former celestial dragon, and he doesn't care about face or status. I don't know what is appropriate. You know, this thing depends on the person. You are using it on Kung Fu Manatee. Isn't this embarrassing for me? Doflamingo said with some embarrassment at this time. Finn thought about it and realized that it was true, so he didn't plan to embarrass Doflamingo anymore. He just said that he would let him see the devil fruit first in the future. Doflamingo also accepted it happily at this time. After all, Finn didn't make it difficult for him. In a normal transaction, he certainly wouldn't deliberately offend Finn. But what are you going to trade? Doflamingo asked with a smile. You should also know that on the sea, power is everything, so I don't need to say more about the weight of the devil fruit. He. My friendship. Finn said seriously. The air seemed to freeze instantly. It was really Finn's behavior that was almost robbery that opened their eyes. Chapter 77. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this time, not only Doflamingo on the other end of Den Mushi was stunned, but also Gree and the manager of the auction house were dumbfounded. Isn't this robbery? They stared at Finn with some curiosity, and almost asked, how did you do it so naturally? Of course, even if Finn heard it, he would not pay attention to them at this moment. Instead, he would say in his heart, how can you understand the way the boss acts? Why did Finn do this? He really had no money in his pocket and was a little panicked. He has gradually adapted to this world now, and he has understood a lot of truths along the way. Finn is now very clear that rules are made by strength. Strength is the capital. Since he has the capital, he can make rules, so what's wrong with face recognition? No wonder people say that reading thousands of books and traveling thousands of miles, you learn really fast. So, Finn gradually developed the habit of this catchphrase. Anyway, as long as he is not embarrassed, it is others who are embarrassed. He didn't say this to everyone, but it depends on the situation. However, when he said this, it meant that he was very sure that the other party would buy it. He went to Doflamingo because he was really rich, and it was not an exaggeration to say that he was rich. Another reason was that in Finn's impression, this guy believed that strength was justice. In the original book, he was very afraid of Kaido. Since he believed that strength was justice, it didn't mean that Finn had justice. Since he had justice, it was not too much for him to ask Doflamingo for help. Doflamingo on the other end of the Den Mushi was stunned for a moment, and soon his devilish laughter came again. Hey. It's really interesting. Hey. Then I'll accept your friendship. After the final negotiation, Finn finally borrowed 300 million Baileys from Doflamingo. Of course, it was a loan that could not be repaid, and both parties knew it well. Doflamingo is worthy of being a man who has made such a big career. Since he knew that such a deal had been acknowledged, he was just open and generous to deepen the relationship between the two parties, so he was very straightforward. This not only made Finn look at him more highly. No wonder this guy could go from being an abandoned child of the celestial dragons to the current king of a country and the king of the underground world. He really has some great courage. No wonder he has a domineering color. Although in the original work, this guy's means are a bit cruel, but Finn will not judge a person's good or bad according to the original work. After all, who has achieved great things without some means? However, Finn's biggest regret at this time was that he felt that he had borrowed too little. It seemed that the other party didn't take this little money seriously, which made him envious and jealous again. Isn't this the bad nature of human beings? They like to climb up, get more and more, and are never satisfied. Alas, it seems that our Finn is no exception. He even began to think about it in his heart. He would continue to look for Doflamingo for this good thing next time. This is the rhythm of blackmail. Does he really want to carry forward the theory of his previous life here? The one who owes money is the master, and the one who can owe money is the master among masters. Leaving the auction house and walking on the street, Gree admired, "Captain, you are so amazing," thought it was really Finn's operation that refreshed his cognition. How could he not know Doflamingo, the famous 7 warlords of the sea? Finn just smiled and didn't say anything, because he knew very well that it was unnecessary to speak at this moment, and that he would be cool in front of his younger brother if he didn't speak. He finally understood why Shanks liked this so much. It was really invisible pretense, the most deadly, and too addictive. It can only be said that Finn still has some talent. The world of big men, empty promises, and pie in the sky, has really made him understand it now. However, on the way, Finn felt that Gree seemed to have something to say, but was a little embarrassed to speak, and looked like he was hesitant to speak. With a heavy heart, Finn understood that Gree might want his help with something, but he had just joined the group, so he might be embarrassed to speak. In a silent atmosphere, Finn took the initiative to break the silence. "Gree, you seem to have something to say." Gree heard Finn's words. His expression was a little complicated, and he was hesitant to speak. "What's wrong with you being so nagging? Say it." Finn said, a little unhappy when he saw this, that Finn actually had some guesses, and it was probably because of his partner. He was unfamiliar with the Sabaody archipelago and was captured. What complicated cause and effect could there be? It must be that his former subordinates were also captured, and now he is a little worried. Grizel paused, and then began to tell his troubles. Not surprisingly, it was just as Finn guessed, and he wanted to save him, yes partner, but he can't do anything. But he just joined, and he was a little embarrassed to bother Finn. After all, he still has emotional intelligence, and he knows that the big brother doesn't want a troubled brother, but a brother who can help him solve the trouble. If you join someone else's team, the first thing you do is to ask others to help you. This is totally unreasonable. It is easy for people to misunderstand that the purpose of joining is impure, or that you are taking advantage of others, but at this time, he really can't let go of his partner. After all, he has come all the way from the North Sea to here. After 2 years of getting along, they have a deep friendship. Finn couldn't help but look at this with a higher eye. Who doesn't like such a loyal subordinate? Lead the way. Finn looked at Gree and said, "This is an opportunity to regain his heart." Gree is obviously a person who values friendship. He is also his subordinate. There is no reason not to help. If he doesn't help, it will definitely leave a grudge in Gree's heart. Isn't this just making an enemy? How could Finn do such a thing? He also had some small thoughts of his own. After all, the partners recognized by Gree must have some skills. They should have professional personnel configuration to be able to travel from the North Sea to the Sabaody archipelago. Finn was thinking about whether he could recruit a few more people. Even if he didn't recruit them to his own team, if the people were reliable, it would be good as an affiliated pirate group, just like the Whitebeard group. At that time, let Gree manage his original team directly. This would reduce a lot of things. Besides, he was going to the New World to occupy the territory, and now he was in urgent need of talents. In fact, the reason for being so straightforward was that he didn't think there was anything he couldn't handle in the Sabaody archipelago, as long as it wasn't an attack on the naval base. After all, it was Kizaru who was stationed in the Sabaody archipelago at this time, not Akainu. He was very strict. Kizaru was still very good at paddling, and he thought he would give him face, so, the two of them led a team of kung fu manatees and set off towards the place where Gree's companions were imprisoned. Chapter 78. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oh no, boss, someone broke in. The garrison of the Tianlong slave hunting group was in chaos, with many people lying on the ground and wailing one after another. At this time, Gree, Finn, and a group of kung fu sea cows walked into the garrison leisurely as if they were strolling in the street. Of course, Finn did not take action. A group of minions, why did he need to take action? Who was worthy of him? Gree killed them all by himself. It was obvious that the enemies were particularly jealous when they met, and they all beat them to death. His strength could easily crush some minions. The Kung Fu sea cows also had the will to fight and were eager to try. Finn also saw it in his eyes. They were definitely a group of warmongers. But Finn did not let them act, because Finn did not know what kind of strong man he would face next. For the sake of safety, it was safer to stay by his side. After all, this was the territory of the Tianlong people, and their behavior was a slap in the face of the Tianlong people. Finn couldn't guarantee that the Tianlong people would give him this face and not pursue the matter. However, because of his support, Gree became bolder and fought without scruples, crippling people with every move, which made Finn stunned. This new brother was really fierce, but he didn't say anything. From his point of view, he must protect his own people. Besides, he didn't know what Gree had experienced, so it was good to vent. No matter what kind of masters the Tianlong people sent next, he would be able to handle it. He didn't believe that this incident would really turn into a deadly situation with him. "Stop, who are you? Don't you know whose territory this is?" At this time, a tall and slightly fat middle-aged man shouted at Gree. It was obviously the so-called boss of this group of people. Seeing the brothers who were killed and injured, he was obviously angry. However, when his eyes looked at Finn, he was a little stunned. Why does this person look so familiar? Obviously, he had seen Finn's photo, but he didn't recognize him at first. However, seeing Finn's size and the sense of oppression, he was unsure for a moment. Then he thought that there was a celestial dragon behind him, and he suddenly became bolder. However, Gree was eager to save people, so he didn't have time to nag him, and he just shouted. "You bastard, do you still know me? Where did you lock my partner? You are the captain of that pirate group. Aren't you being auctioned? It seems that you have been rescued." The fat middle-aged man also remembered Gree at this time, and looked at Finn again, and understood. "It seems that you are lucky, but you are not smart. You are free, but you still want to jump into the fire." He didn't take Gree seriously at all. He was the one who defeated Gree and captured him, but Finn was here, which made him a little afraid. Finn did not move, but just watched quietly. He wanted to see the determination of his subordinate. He couldn't just look for him when he encountered problems. Wouldn't he be annoyed to death? Helping his younger brother clean up his mess every day. Is this what a big brother should do? Is such a younger brother worthy of him? Looking for a younger brother is to help him solve the problem, not to cause trouble for himself. He knows very well that if things go the other way, it will not be right. Fortunately, Gree did not disappoint Finn at this time and chose to attack the middle-aged man directly. Even if he knew the strength of the man in front of him, he did not choose to let Finn help him, because he knew very well that he had caused trouble for Finn. He could not be unaware of the weight of the 3 words Tianlongren, so he needed to show his determination. His partner was still waiting for his rescue, and he needed to rescue him himself, but Finn had no obligation to do so. So he rushed up without hesitation. Gree was like an angry beast. Every move and every style condensed strong anger and determination. His punches and kicks were sharp and powerful, and he vowed to defeat the man in front of him, but the middle-aged man was obviously not a good person. He dared to do such a business of arresting pirates on the sea. He needed strong strength to support him. Otherwise, wouldn't he be in vain? He cleverly dodged Gree's attack, and then punched him hard, heading straight for Gree's chest. However, Gree was never simple. How could he be hit so easily? He jumped up and cleverly avoided the middle-aged man's heavy punch, then he quickly fought back, and a sharp kick went straight to the middle-aged man's waist. The middle-aged man's body was also flexible. He quickly dodged the kick and then punched Gree in the face. Gree did not choose to dodge this time, but directly chose to fight with him. The collision was like thunder and made people feel that the air was shaking. Then there was a series of consecutive moves, including the Gree boxing move. Like a violent storm, every punch was a full-force squeeze and a full-force explosion. The middle-aged man was not panicked, and responded in an orderly manner. His strength was extraordinary. The punches collided, making a series of dull collision sounds. The Kung Fu manatees were stunned, and only then did they realize that this newcomer had been very cautious before. Finn also saw it, and was very sure that it seemed that determination and anger could really transform people on the battlefield. How could he not see that there was a gap in the basic strength of the two on paper, but they were still fighting hard, which showed how strong Gree's determination was. At the same time, the middle-aged man was not a pushover after a long battle. After dodging, he took out the knife next to him. Obviously, he was still a swordsman. Seeing this, Finn was worried about Gree. He was a little unsure whether Gree could cope with it, but Gree did not ask him for help, and still wanted to defeat the strong enemy by himself. The middle-aged man slashed fiercely with a knife, and Gree also wrapped his fist with the color of armed color to fight against him. The fist and the knife collided fiercely, sparks flew, and the atmosphere on the field became tense. Gree endured the pain and retreated. He took a deep breath and regained his composure. This blow did not discourage him, but instead inspired him to fight more strongly. "Boss, do you want us to help?" Wix and Kung Fu Manatee asked anxiously. Finn shook his head and signaled them to wait and see. This is a test for Gree to see if he can rise in adversity. After several collisions, Gree took the initiative to attack. He cleverly avoided the middle-aged man's slash, and then suddenly exerted force, and a powerful sweeping kick knocked the middle-aged man away, and the middle-aged man fell heavily to the ground. But things didn't end so easily. The middle-aged man quickly turned over, spitting saliva, mixed with a trace of blood, and obviously suffered a little loss. Gree stood there, sweat dripping down, then took a deep breath and prepared to continue fighting, but Finn stood up at this time. Gree had indeed proved his determination. He could not lose the game of weak against strong, and Finn recognized it. He didn't come here to watch them fight until the end of time. If they continued to fight like this, it was obvious that there would be no results for a while. Besides, if reinforcements came later, it would be a big trouble. Although he didn't think that the celestial dragons could do anything to him, it was obviously not a rational behavior to make enemies everywhere. Especially now, all he needed to do was to rescue people, so he stopped Gree and signaled him to stop. Then, the domineering color was accurately released, and a terrifying pressure accompanied by fear instantly appeared in the heart of the middle-aged fat man. Chapter 79. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This is Domineering Hockey. You are Julent D. Finn. Suddenly, the memory deep in the middle-aged fat man's brain was awakened. He recognized who the visitor was and shouted in horror. At this time, the middle-aged fat man even felt a little unreal. This was too unlucky. He could meet such a strong man at home. He broke out in a cold sweat instantly. After serving the celestial dragons, this guy had long been accustomed to luxury and enjoyment. His will sank into gentleness, and he immediately broke down in the face of the pressure of domineering hockey, and he also knew who Finn was. He was a super strong man who had recently become famous and could rival the admirals of the Navy. He knew that this was already an existence that he could not defeat. "You bastard, where did you lock up my partner?" Gree asked angrily, obviously very worried about his partner's safety. The middle-aged fat man glanced at Finn, and seeing that he had no expression on his face and had no intention of taking action, he knew that he was completely ignored, but he did not dare to show any emotion. "Brother, your companions are all inside, don't worry, they are all fine." The middle-aged fat man acted apologetically and said in a flattering manner, "For many years, he worked as a subordinate for the Tianlong people and handled some shameful and dirty things for them. He had long lost his blood in his heart and was used to begging for mercy and flattering the strong, so he just admitted his weakness. Lead the way." Finn glanced at him and said directly. Soon, a group of people came to a huge factory building, one of which held 5 young people, who were obviously tortured and covered with scars. "Captain Gree." One of them immediately became excited and shouted loudly after seeing Finn and his group. "Rose, Nick, Theodore, Henry, Harrigan, are you all okay?" Gree asked excitedly. These 5 people are all his companions. They came to the Sabaody archipelago from the North Sea and experienced hardships along the way. They dreamed of going to sea. Although the team was small, they still persisted all the way. Now, in a desperate situation, they didn't expect to meet Finn. The plot reversal was like going from hell to heaven in an instant. How could they not be excited? But at this time, Finn's mood suddenly became heavy, because he saw an unbelievable scene. In the cell in the distance, a heartbreaking picture appeared in front of him. Women and children huddled in the corner, their eyes were empty and desperate, and they had obviously suffered unspeakable violations and torture. Some people were already ashen, as if they had lost their vitality, and some were crying softly. The mottled bloodstains and scattered broken limbs on the wall were unbearable to look at. Some people died in a horrible way, with twisted bodies and hideous faces, as if they had experienced extreme pain before death. Such a situation reveals the cruelty and atrocities here, which makes people feel heartbroken. Innocent people, their lives were ruthlessly trampled, their dignity was completely destroyed. The whole cell was filled with the breath of death and despair, which made Finn feel a chill, as if he was in hell. He took a deep breath and tried to calm his inner excitement, but this tragic scene was really unbearable. At this moment, Finn's heart was left with endless sorrow and anger towards this world, and he decided to do something. The middle-aged fat man also noticed Finn's emotional changes and wanted to say something, but Finn was no longer in the mood to listen to him. Empty thorn. Finn was furious and launched an attack instantly. The empty thorn wrapped with the domineering color turned into a huge slash, attacking the middle-aged fat man directly. The fat man realized that the situation was not good, and also aroused the ferocity in his heart, and he was going to resist with all his strength, but the gap between his strength and Finn was huge. How could he resist this angry blow? The slash broke through the air, with amazing speed, and hit the target instantly. It cut into the middle-aged fat man's chest, like a blade cutting tofu, and cut him in half in an instant. However, the power of the slash did not dissipate. It continued to fly through the air and instantly split the entire prison in two. The sun outside suddenly fell, but Finn could not feel a trace of warmth. At this moment, the coldness in his heart surpassed everything. Execute them all, leave no one alive. Finn said coldly to Gree. Gree also knew that Finn was very unhappy at this time, so he worked extra hard and started to act quickly. Soon, all the accomplices were killed by him. Then, Finn ordered Gree to open all the cells and release the prisoners. After they were grateful, Finn asked them to leave. At this time, Finn was no longer in the mood to recruit people. What he saw and heard today completely refreshed his understanding of evil. It turns out that hell is hidden under the shadow of power. The powerful can trample on the dignity of human nature so wantonly. A strong anger surged in Finn's heart, and at this moment, he was more determined to occupy his own territory. Because such a world government is no longer worthy of his kindness, an anxious sound of footsteps came from outside. It was the Celestial Dragons and their CP0 members who came to support. The leading Celestial Dragons wore medieval armor, while their CP0s were neatly dressed in suits and leather shoes. Finn narrowed his eyes and swept his eyes coldly over the Celestial Dragons and CP0 members. The whole atmosphere became tense in an instant, and an invisible sense of oppression filled the air. This seems to be your territory, and you actually let these people be so lawless? Finn questioned the Celestial Dragons coldly. Julent D. Finn, you not only stunned Charlo Saint, but also attacked my industry. It seems that you have no respect for us Celestial Dragons. The Celestial Dragon also stared at Finn angrily. It seems that you are the culprit of all this. Finn's eyes were cold and his tone was full of anger. Just a bunch of low-class people, and you are the same. Do you think you can do whatever you want after defeating a Kainu? A Kainu is just a dog of ours. Remember, I am the captain of the Knights of God, Zahirman Saint. Dead man, not worthy of my memory. Finn said angrily. God martial body 3 styles fallen angel. Finn instantly entered the 3-style transformation, obviously furious. He wanted to kill the culprit and calm his inner anger. At this moment, no matter whether he was a celestial dragon or a terrestrial dragon, anyone who dared to make him so unhappy should die. Chapter 80. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Such cruel behavior is outrageous. The tragic experience of hundreds of people made him unable to remain calm and filled with anger. Finn doesn't like bullying the weak because he knows the hardships of the weak. He himself was once a weak person, but he is glad to live with dignity. In this world, it is really not easy for ordinary people. Not only do they have to face natural disasters, but they must also be vigilant against man-made disasters and avoid the aftermath of the battle between the strong. So many people are full of despair, even a heart of stone will be melted. But these people, not even a little bit touched, really have no humanity. He can no longer sit idly by, and his anger is burning. Such people are simply not worthy of being human, nor worthy of living. The impact of the domineering color is continuously released, sweeping around with him as the center, and then rushing straight into the sky. The celestial dragons and CP0 both felt this pressure, but as the captain of the Knights of God, Julent Saint was obviously powerful and not inferior to the generals. The impact was not great, but the CP0 members faced fear directly, and their strength was greatly reduced. Finn stared coldly at Julent Saint and a group of CP0 members. His wings vibrated, and in an instant, he was in front of the enemy like lightning. Cannon fist. Cannon fist. Cannon fist, that he whistled past like a gust of wind, and the CP0 people could not dodge and could only bear it. However, these people seemed too naive and tried to use iron blocks to block Finn's cannon fist wrapped with armed color and domineering color. This was a huge force of 80,000 pounds plus the sprint speed of the fallen angel, and it was also wrapped with two-color domineering. The iron block was like a layer of thin paper and broke instantly. Under the huge force, not only people, but even the ground could not bear it, and it cracked one after another, as if it was about to collapse. Those CP0 seemed small and powerless in front of this force, and felt the helplessness of ordinary people facing death. Before Julent Saint could stop it, the CP0 members fell to the ground one after another, and their lives and deaths were unknown. It's actually the Conqueror's hockey entanglement, that he thought he had a very comprehensive grasp of Finn's intelligence, but now he found that his opponent actually had the ability of Conqueror's hockey entanglement. He wondered in his heart, did he not go all out when fighting Akainu? Looking at these subordinates who were not to be underestimated, they were so vulnerable in front of Finn, and they fell one after another in a short time before he could rescue them. An ominous premonition rose in Julent Saint's heart. He realized that Finn's strength might be far beyond his imagination and completely exceeded his expectations. This also made him understand that he was already in a desperate situation and had to fight desperately to have a glimmer of hope. Finn looked at the only remaining celestial dragon in front of him with cold eyes. He wanted to see what the difference was between this noble and high-ranking celestial dragon and ordinary people in desperate situations. Would he be afraid of death, and begging for mercy? But before that, he had one more thing to arrange. Gree, take them to Rayleigh and ask him to arrange a coded ship. I'll be there later. Let's go to Fishman Island together. Let's go. Finn arranged to Gree. Such a fierce battle, coupled with the release of his Conqueror's hockey. Finn's observation hockey has already sensed that many masters are coming quickly. Finn knew very well that he had to make arrangements in advance to prevent the support of the Navy world government from arriving. His men were not strong enough to compete, and staying here would only be a waste of death, and might even interfere with him. Even if the support was not from the Navy or the world government, after today, they would definitely hunt him down without leaving any room, and surround and intercept him until he was completely eliminated. Therefore, after this battle, he would also go to the New World immediately, and he would definitely not be able to stay in the Grand Line. Then he took a cold look at the self-important Julent Saint of the Knights of God. Finn suddenly flapped his wings, and in an instant, he had rushed out. Under the impact of the huge force, the cannon punch even dyed the air red. However, as the captain of the Knights of God, Julent Saint was not a simple person and responded instantly. One sword style flame dragon slash. The sword slashed down quickly, rubbing against the air violently, and was stained with blazing flames. The attack was a special move, it was full strength. Both of them knew that there was no reconciliation. Only when one side fell to the ground, it was over. Bang! The fist and the sword collided violently, and the shock wave surged around, and everything around was cracked by this wave. Julent Saint's tiger mouth cracked instantly. However, the strong will never lose their fighting power because of this little damage. It will only make him feel the excitement of fighting for his life. after a short fight, the two sides separated again. Finn was because the moves required an impact distance, and Charherman Saint was because of fear. With Finn's body size, it is obvious that he is going for a huge force crit flow. How could he not be afraid of close combat? But there was one thing that was beyond his expectation. He thought Finn was a power player, but in fact he was a hexagonal warrior. The speed of the fallen angel form made it difficult for him to deal with it for a while. Finn quickly took off again and flapped his wings. But at this time, the celestial dragon knew his disadvantage and did not want to confront Finn head-on, so he decided to use long-range slashing to delay time. This place is the Sabaody archipelago, their territory. He believes that as long as he drags it out to the end, Finn will have nowhere to escape. Then it will be his victory. One sword style Jianxiang slash. Indeed, under such a long-range slash, Finn had to respond and resist. Cannon fist. Finn also knew the other party's intention, which was nothing more than delaying time. How could Finn do as he wished? The fallen angel flapped his wings violently in the air, and his figure flashed frequently, forming a blurred shadow around him, making it impossible for the opponent to accurately track his movement trajectory. Cannon fist. This punch condensed Finn's endless anger, like a blazing meteor heading straight for the celestial dragon. Charherman Saint sensed the danger, but it was too late to dodge. He held the knife in both hands and slashed it down quickly, but under the rapid accumulation of power, the power was much stronger than before, and it was a moment of contact. Not good. Charherman Saint knew that he couldn't take this blow. He quickly used the sword to guide the power, and then directly abandoned the sword, pulling away from Finn. Obviously he didn't want to fight him in close combat, but without the sword, how should he deal with it? At this time, Finn did not hesitate and pursued the victory. After the violent flapping of wings to accelerate, he instantly came to Charherman Saint's body again, entangled in a two-color domineering cannon fist. He could only bear it hard, but it would not be so easy. Charherman Saint instantly fell into despair. Bang! The two fists were facing each other, and the sound of bones cracking rang out. In an instant, the chest was opened wide, and the fist hit his chest, and the man was directly knocked away. This is exactly the scene that Finn likes. He wants this blow to kill. The figure flashed again, gathering strength. The armed color quickly surged to the arm, forming a huge sphere, like a water tank. This is the first time that the Ryu Sakura has been used to such an extent. The rage burst out, and Finn needed to vent. He wanted to take the life of the celestial dragon. In an instant, he caught up, and in the air, Charherman Saint fell into despair. This high and mighty person actually thought of begging for mercy. Stop, I am a celestial dragon, you have to think clearly. Charherman Saint's eyes were full of horror. However, how could Finn care about the identity of a mere celestial dragon? In an instant, he hit high and low, carrying the power to destroy everything, and went straight to Charherman Saint. The huge Ryu Sakura wrapped the celestial dragon, and then the fist continued to hit. Ah! Only a scream was heard, and then there was no sound. At this time, he was covered by the flowing cherry blossoms, his flesh and blood were destroyed, his bones were shattered under the impact of the huge force, his internal organs were ruptured, his spine was broken, his body was bent and no longer in human form, and there was no trace of life. The body fell rapidly and landed on the ground with a bang. A huge crack appeared in the center of the island, and seawater poured in. The whole island began to sink slowly. Not long after leaving, Gree also felt this huge destructive force and was shocked. His captain was more powerful than he had imagined. At this moment, he was extremely grateful for the decision of the auction house.